Welcome to Pencils and Lipstick. This is a podcast for indie authors. I'm Kat Caldwell, novelist, short story writer, and book coach. Here on Pencils and Lipstick, we're obsessed with all things story, and it is my goal to bring you the writing tips that you need.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back
make
to Pencils
your
and Lipstick. This is
novel come to
episode
life.
272 of the podcast. I'm Kat Caldwell, and it is June. We are going straight into the summer. I know some of you are actually on summer break, or at least your kids are. And so today we're going to take a little break from the interviews and we're going to try to figure out ways to get our writing done during the summer months, because there's just something a little bit different about the summer months. I want you guys to go outside, have fun, enjoy the sunshine, get some vitamin D. There's usually a few more demands on your life, maybe a vacation, maybe kids or grandkids coming to visit, or just sort of disrupting the routine that you had. I always travel, and so it gets disrupted quite a bit. And I have struggled with figuring out the seasonal routine changes my whole life, right? So right now I have teenagers, but I have been a writer while they were little kids. I know some of you are taking care of maybe parents, older people, people you love, whoever it is, whatever your circumstances are. We're kind of going into another one of those seasonal changes. So we're going to talk about that. If you guys haven't been listening lately, I suggest you go back and check out some of the latest podcast episodes, because we have had some really good ones. So just before we get into, I have 13 ways for you to keep your writing up during the summer. Tomorrow is today, as this goes out, is June 9th. So I'm recording this June 8th. But as it goes out June 9th, the Book Sales School Summit starts. The link is in the show notes below. I believe that if you haven't signed up already, I'm not sure that you can still sign up for free, but there is still sort of that discount time where you can sign up for all of it. You'll have to click the link below and talk and see how they've organized this summit. But I am talking about getting on podcasts, how you should be, I guess, when you're on a podcast, maybe how to find the podcast, what you should have ready for a podcast. So if you want to use podcasts as a way to sell your books, there are some tips that will help you be very successful and possibly less nervous and come off, better and be invited back. Or maybe somebody will hear you and say, oh, I want you on my podcast. So be sure to check that out if you can. The lineup is really great. There's a lot of new names there that I haven't seen before, which is nice. A lot of times we're sort of seeing the same faces, right? But we also have the Fiction Teachers Summit coming up. That is David Daniel Wallace runs that. So if you are a fiction teacher, a fiction coach, a fiction, teach fiction in some capacity, you might want to sign up for that one. I am going more in depth on that one, on how to actually start your podcast and why I think you should, with a lot of practical tips on how to start it, why I think you should start it, and just some things that you might not know about. And like it doesn't have to cost you $500 to do it, which is good, right? We don't want that. So you guys should check those out. If you are really looking, of course, the links are in the show notes below. I need to finish my thoughts before I keep going to the next one. My friend Rhonda Douglas, if you really are thinking that you want to start getting serious about writing your book and you want it, like somebody to come alongside you and get it done within a month, Rhonda Douglas is starting her book finishers boot camp on the 18th. So I'll remind you guys next week as well. She has a really high success rate of people who go into her group who get their book done within 12 months. She goes into the group all the time. She has like a stack of books that people have sent to her who have like, I finished it in your group and I got it published. She has a really great track record. She's phenomenal. She's been on the show before. I highly recommend her. Her teaching method is really gentle, really encouraging. She knows her stuff. So if that is something that you are looking to do, yes, it is a monetary investment, but a lot of times, we exchange time and money right? And if this is something you want to do, and let me tell you, it is not easy to just like do it by yourself. Um, and then like write the story by yourself, get it all done by yourself, wonder, if it's good enough to get edited, like that kind of that cuts down on a lot of doubt. You'll get feedback, you'll get to know other writers because it's a group thing. It just while it costs money, it might be worth it, right? Because I'm not sure that you're really just because we get it for free, a lot of times it will take longer. A lot of times we still have the self doubt, and you still got to get like editing and all that stuff done, right? And that costs money. Now it's better to get that done and pay the money when you know that the story is really working. So you've already gotten some feedback on it, right? So something to think about. The links are in the show notes below. Yes, I am an affiliate, but I don't teach in her group. She does all the teaching, but she is really, really great. Okay. So I would not recommend her if I didn't think that she was awesome. So I just saying. As far as my books go, my Stepping Across the Desert got a makeover. It's getting a makeover this week. So if you're on YouTube, this is the cover that it has currently. And it's getting a cover to match across the English Channel. And then they will come out together this at the end of this week as paperbacks together, which is very exciting. So in the back there, you will soon see another paperback, and then this paperback will be different. So I got to figure out how to. I don't ever know what to do with my old covers when I have them printed, have a giveaway or something. So there's that, and I'm still working on the audiobook because I've just gotten a little busy as usual. It's just time, right? So anyway, um, just we'll be working this summer on getting the audiobook done, which shouldn't take that much longer. I want to listen to the whole thing before I give it out to you guys. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to give it to you. I was thinking like a private podcast, which might be really easy for a lot of people, instead of getting another app or anything like that. So anyway, if you haven't listened before, you should probably hit subscribe or follow or whatever your app says. If you are watching on YouTube, of course, like and subscribe and all that. And if anyone ever feels like giving a review, which you totally should, it helps the algorithm. I would be forever grateful. Whatever app you're on, it's really difficult to know. I personally dislike, I will use the word dislike, Apple and Spotify. They put ads in that you have to bear through, and it's just horrible. There are lots of apps out there that you can use to listen to podcasts that you don't have to hear a CVS ad on, but it's up to you guys. It's just all up to you. All right, we're going to talk about how to get our writing done this summer because my kids are completely done this week. And I'm already thinking like, ooh, how do I do this? Once again, I'm going to have to be a little more disciplined, have a little more, shuffle things around just so that, I'm not just sitting all day. Usually I can just do a lot of things in 5 hours time and sort of shuffle things around. But of course, my kids aren't going to want to just sit around for 5 hours every day. They're going to want to go do stuff. I'm sure your kids will too, or the people that you're taking care of, or your work schedule might change. Maybe you'll travel more, whatever it is. So let's get into these 13 things. All right. So as whatever you're working on, summer can be a really good time, number one, to work on your characters. Yes. If you don't know your character very well, it's kind of hard to write your story pretty well. So characters are like the big deal of the story, right? They are why we come to story. Yes, the plot is awesome. Sometimes for some people, the plot is easier to figure out. But if you haven't figured out your characters, this is a good time to really hunker down and figure them out. So K.M. Weiland is really great at talking about characters. She has a podcast. She has books. So it kind of depends on what genre you're writing. But both of these are good, even, Hello, where's my camera? These are really great. Let me tell you, for the audio people, writing archetypal archetypal characters. I don't know why I can't say this. Writing archetypal characters arcs by K.M. Weiland, The Hero's Journey and Beyond. I will have the link in the show notes for you all. And then Creating Character Arcs, The Masterful Author's Guide to Uniting Story Structure, Plot, and Character Development by K.M. Weiland. You spell that Weiland. Again, I'll have the links in the show notes, but she has a podcast as well. And I think you can find it on YouTube as well. I've seen her there. So she has great information. If you need to figure out your characters, go chase her down on the internet, find all her stuff, and just sort of binge it and then figure out those characters. All right. The next tip that I have, number 2, comes from Rachel Aaron's 2,000 to 10,000 How to Write Faster, Write Better, and Write More of What You Love. It's a really tiny book, but she was trying to write more. I'm not necessarily telling you to like write 10,000 words a day. I think summer is not a great time to do that, because 10,000 words a day still takes time. A lot of time. So like the quickest I can get 2,000 words done is like maybe a little less than 2 hours. So you're talking about like, 5-hour workday, just writing. That's not counting like taking care of your kids, going to your day job, whatever it is. So, but this tip, she said that she started writing out scenes by hand, like the idea of what she was about to write that day. So, okay, I'm going to write, this library scene where he finds her reading his favorite book. I'm making this up. And of course, they're going to connect on that. And I want, to describe, maybe I should describe the sofa, the sunlight, the book, whatever. Find the name of the book. What is this scene about? What's it for? Where is it? So just sort of writing down, brainstorming, basically bullet points or brainstorming sentences, however you want. I started doing this. I forget some days, but the days that I do this, it really, really works. Like it works really well because you have like this idea in your head, and a lot of times you'll get to the page. I don't know about you, but like sometimes I'll go off the idea. I don't know why. Or I'll just sort of like, it just sort of takes forever to put that idea into words. So this exercise of just brainstorming it or bullet pointing it, it seems to help my brain untangle and then be able to actually write the scene out. So I highly recommend this. And this book, again, I'll link in the show notes below. It's really, really tiny. But again, I'm not encouraging you to write 10,000 words a day in the summer. So tip number 3, find a writing friend and set up kind of a think competition or writing sprints. So this tip I thought of because of Hannah Jordan, whose interview comes out next week. Her and her friends set up like a fake NaNoWriMo, which helped them finish their books. And so you'll have to listen to the interview next week. But I think this is a fabulous idea. Set up like with a friend and say, instead of 50,000 words, say 10,000 words this month. 10,000 is better than 0, guys. Like, and if you are a competitive spirit or you like to work with people, maybe do a writing sprint online. There's quite a few people who do these on TikTok, quite a few people who do them on Zoom. They're not hard to find. But if, you can just make one with your own writing friends, especially if you're competitive, that might help you just like get motivated. Like, oh, I haven't written any words today and it's 8 p.m. I'm going to go write something, right? A lot of times that's all you need to do. Even if you have to delete it the next day because it's no good. Again, it kind of goes into the tip number 2. You've kind of gotten some brainstorming down, and now I bet you anything the next day you'll delete it and you'll rewrite it better. Always happens. Okay. Number 4. If you really need some craft help, maybe you're finding that maybe you don't really know how a story goes, or maybe you're one of those that just keeps writing, and it doesn't ever seem to get to the middle or to the climax or to the end, and you just keep writing. I would suggest you get some writing craft help. Okay. There's no shame in this. Everyone's got to do it at some point. There is a rhyme and reason to story. So, The Science of Storytelling by Will Storr, you can find that in audio as well as paperback and ebook. This is kind of I found it really interesting and inspiring. Again, not every one of these books will be for every personality. Gail Carriger's The Heroine's Journey. So heroine's journey is a little bit different than the hero's journey. So if you kind of write heroine story books where she's kind of going through and finds like a group of friends, and they kind of do it that way, especially there's a lot of fantasy like that, you might want to pick up this book, The Heroine's Journey by Gail Carriger. See if I can say things correctly. Again, the links will be in the show notes below. If you are writing hero story, Jay Thorne does a lot of hero story, the 3-story method, the foundations of fiction, it's called. You might want to pick this one up. It might help you, especially if you're having trouble just sort of figuring out what the sequence of a story is. All right. And then Story Genius is Amazing by Lisa Crone. This is the brain science one. Lisa Crone's other book, I can't believe I forget what she wrote. Wired for Story. So Story Genius and Wired for Story, as you can tell, it's annotated like crazy. Those are both really, really great for understanding the character, especially character-driven story and how they should be put together. Okay, so again, all these books will be linked in this, the show notes below. All right, number 5, try writing short stories about your characters or your area. This might help you world build. This might help you figure out your stories, especially your side characters. It might help them be really different and distinct and just get a clearer view of them. You can find short story prompts all over the internet. Just have fun with it. Just write something like a flash fiction of the character. Just, I don't know, put them in a car accident, put them at the grocery store, put them flying around, wherever you want, just to see like how they'll react. All right, number 6. Lower your expectations of words to 500 words a day. Let that sink in, just 500 words a day. If you are really, really busy, allow yourself to write 500 words a day. Allow yourself to write 250 words a day. Because again, it's better than 0, and it keeps you in your story, and it's keeping you from getting really, rusty and crackly in your story writing. It's better than 0. Allow yourself to do that. When I was in a really busy season, I got a coach, and he told me to do this, and I printed off this just calendar, this Canva calendar, and I put little stickers the day that I made it to 500 words, and it was really inspiring and helpful, very, very helpful. So if you are super busy, lower your expectations on yourself and the pressure on yourself. All right, and then just try to stick to that. Number 7, find or go back to the premise, the original premise. So what was the original idea for the story? Maybe what was the what if? Are you still writing about that? Does it still work? Has it changed? Should it change? So go back to the beginning, basically, of when you started writing this and why. You might be surprised. Things might have changed. Maybe you're not writing the same story anymore. You keep forcing yourself to. If you've never figured out what the premise of your story is, you should do that. You should figure out what is the story about? What is the what if? And this is going to help you with number 8, which is write your blurb. There are a lot of people who won't start a book until they write their blurb, because it helps them stay on track. It helps them write the story that they actually started with. It really will clarify for you kind of where the middle and what the question, the what if, kind of what if they don't escape, or can they escape this house before it eats them? I don't know. Can they save the world before the aliens take over? I'm not saying it has to be a perfect blurb, but thinking about your story in blurb fashion um, will help you sort of move through the whole of the story, especially if you have trouble finishing or getting to the finish. Check out episode 264 called Hooked in 150 Words with Jessie Kuniff. And there will be a link to her uh, program. I actually bought it and it was fabulous. Honestly, you all know I hate writing blurbs. I wrote the blurb for Across the English Desert in a few days, and it was actually kind of fun. Like, it's weird, right? So check that out. Check out her course. I don't think it's that expensive even. I have a feeling it was like $37 or something American. Okay, number 9. Find somebody who's interested in listening to you talk about your story and see if you can explain the whole thing. And see if they have questions, see if you get lost yourself, if there are plot holes. This is really great for pitching your story, and it's great for getting out of your head. Number 10, learn to dictate. Um, yes, learn to dictate. Sarah Elizabeth has a course on this, and she does boot camps all the time. She's probably going to have one in October, I would assume, again. But you can also she's great at helping you navigate the whole dictation thing, and I'll have a link to her course in the show notes. But you can also just on your phone record. Whisper Memos is an app that I think costs $50 a year, but it will record you and it will email you the transcript. You can just record into Google Docs on your phone. I used to, because I never trusted Google Docs on my phone. I would just make a voice memo and then I would either type it up or I would set it next to my computer and hit the dictate button and it would dictate it through. You still have to like find the periods and all that. What I really love about Whisper Memo, despite the price tag, is that you don't have to say period, next line, or anything. You just talk, and it's about 97% accurate on where all the punctuation needs to go. I'm not kidding. It's mind-blowing. But if you don't have that money to spend, make a voice memo, have it, hit the dictate button on Google Word or Google Docs or Microsoft Word, and then take that and put it into Claude AI and see if it can help you with say, please add punctuation where necessary. And a lot of times, again, it will be like 97% correct, or whatever AI thing you like. Or you can put it into Pro Writing Aid if you have that, and it will start showing you all the places that you should probably put a period, right? But if you want to learn how to do it properly, like period, next line, next paragraph, things like that, Sarah Elizabeth has a great course on that. I will have the links in the show notes below. Number 11, impose a time limit on yourself. Weirdly enough, you might have to do this, and this is probably going to be my top one. It is going to be leave my phone over there. I have 45 minutes. This is what I got. If I can get my 500 words on, which 45 minutes should be enough, this is what I got. And then I'm done. And I have to be okay with that for the rest of the day, especially on days where there's lots of stuff to do. So even when I'm with my mother-in-law, she cooks, I clean. We have to take hers to some places, take the kids to some places. I have a lot of freedom when I'm with her, but there are things that have to be done, right? And so it's like, okay, I have 45 minutes now. I'm going to leave my phone over there, turn off all notifications, try to get something written, and then be good with what I got done. Be proud of yourself for having done it. So impose a maximum time limit. Number 12, skip the order. So if you're stuck on something, skip ahead, write a different scene. It's okay. If you're stuck in the muddy middle, go to the midpoint, go to the climax, go to the twist, go to the end. Figure out the dark night of the soul, their worst day ever, right? The disturbance, figure out a twist. Go Maybe figure out a twist that you want back over here. Sometimes also, just this is just a bonus one because it's come into my brain at the moment. If there is a scene that needs to be fixed and you know it needs to be fixed, but you haven't wanted to take the time to fix it, but you still know that it needs to be fixed and now it's kind of bothering you, go back and fix it. That counts as writing. It is still part of your job to fix it. Okay. That I had to tell myself to do that this week. Instead of going forward, I needed to go back and fix the things. And I'm so glad that I did. It definitely took away from like advancing the word count, right? But that's not everything. That is not what the only thing that goes into finishing the book. You have to still fix the beginning if it needs to be fixed. All right, number 13, last one. Your book might need a new beginning. So wherever you've started it now, that might not be, and quite possibly, really, really quite possibly is not how it should start. And now that you've written 10,000 words, 50,000 words, 15,000 words, you might need to go back and redo the beginning. I was thinking the other day, which of my books I haven't changed the beginning for. And I think the only one I didn't change the beginning for was An Audience with the King. I think that is the only one that kept the beginning from the moment I started the book. And I'm not even saying that that was the right decision. That book just, I wrote it so fast and published it. I'm not, so like even across the English Channel, it had a different beginning. Stepping Across the Desert, that beginning was like, I think the third beginning. So, but yeah, every single one of them didn't start when I started the manuscript, didn't start the way that the book starts. Okay, so you might need a new beginning. So you need to go back. You need to write a new beginning. Maybe write 5. See which one you like. Okay, this is part of what writing books is about. And I know sometimes we can get really focused on how many words we wrote, but the craft of writing the book is not just words. Sometimes it is changing the beginning. Sometimes it is making sure our premise is there. Sometimes it is, making like fixing the climax or fixing the first twist or whatever that is. That's still part of your job, right? So it is not all about just word count. So I hope that these helped you. I hope that you get some writing done this summer. Don't be ridiculous in your expectations of yourself. Definitely go outside and get some vitamin D. Go, find some cool water to stick your feet in, get some exercise, have fun with your kids, or your grandkids, or your brothers and sisters, or whoever you're with this summer. We are going to have 3 more interviews. No, we actually have 4 more interviews, and then we're going to take a break for the summer. So I'll remind you, we are going to go through the first week of July. Usually I take a break, but people were kind of wanting to be interviewed and they had things. And so I was like, sure, why not? I'm sure you guys would love it. Right. So we will have it through I guess it'll be like the second week of July. July 7th will be the last podcast episode, and then we'll come back in September. So definitely stick around for the next 4 weeks. Definitely check out last week's episode. It is all about the writing contests and whether or not you should enter. And next week we have Hannah Jordan. And so I think you're going to be interested in her writing story. So I hope that these helped you. Check out the links below in the show notes to find the books or the courses that you might use this summer, read this summer to help you in your writing endeavors. And as always, you guys can ask me questions, send me your updates. On Instagram, it's author_Kat Caldwell. On TikTok, it is catcaldwell.author. catcaldwell.com. You can fill out the contact form, or if you're on my newsletter, you can always hit reply to any email and let me know what's going on. Some of you are telling me that you've entered the contest. Some of you are telling me that you're making your audiobooks with spoken, or you're trying out Curios. And that's just so exciting. I just love that you are taking advantage of the products or the the things that other people are doing in the indie author world to help you as an indie author. And so please let me know if you are doing any of those. And be sure to check out my Instagram and TikTok this week, because in the coming days, I will be showing the new paperbacks. It's going to be exciting. All right. So I'll see you guys next week.